Welcome back to the Empathy Edge. Hi, everyone. This is episode 4 of our special subseries, What Does It Mean to Be Human? And I am joined today by, once again, the delightful Rob Volpe, empathy activist, fellow empathy author and speaker. We are both doing the work.
We're kind of turning into like the Wonder Twins of empathy.
We are. I love that for us.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
It's a lot of fun.
I love that I know the reference too from like Wonder Twins Activate.
Wonder Twin powers activate. Shape of. And the girl, Jaina, always got to be...
She was usually an animal.
And
and he was some form of water.
It was Jan and Zaina.
Yeah.
But which was which?
Zaina, I think, was the woman.
What was the woman, and Jan was the man or boy.
The boy,
He was taking on water and ice, and
always a form of water, which I didn't notice that theme for a long time when I was little. But I was like, oh, he's either ice or a bucket of water, or he's like a hose, or very odd choice of like the particular matter that he was going to turn into.
Yeah. Did you dream of having superpowers when you were a kid?
I did. I very vividly recall a dream where I was standing at the top of my staircase in my childhood home, and I jumped off it and I flew.
Oh, wow. And it was just a dream.
And it was I think it was.
Or it actually happened and all of this is a dream.
And all of this is a dream. Exactly. Exactly. Well, speaking of dreaming, what a good segue, Rob Volpe.
Thank you.
We are talking about dreaming today. We're going to be talking about aspiration, hope, free will, the future-oriented mind. And is that a marker of being human? Because we don't just react to the present like many species, right? We reflect on the past, we imagine the future. You could say we worry about the past and we worry about the future, things that don't exist. And then we also, for the future-oriented, we try to build them, right? So is that human? Is that what drives us?
Yes. And as I was having deep conversation with the cats this weekend on this topic.
They're like oracles. I love it.
They're like, what? Why are you worried about this? Can't I go back to sleep? The sun is out.
Exactly.
Yeah, this one is really fascinating because, again, like it's really hard, I think, and studies have been inconclusive that I've come across about other animals, but I did find in humans, we do have this ability to think about and ponder the past, which then enables us to explore the future. And it's called, hold on. Find my notes.
Is it temporal thinking as a human superpower?
Mental time travel.
Oh, I love that.
Which psychologist Endel Tulving coined in 1985.
Wow.
This temporal thinking as a human superpower, mental time travel. And so it's like episodic memory, which allows us to go back to fixed points in time in our brains in the past, but then also to project into the future or our imagined future, I would think. So I think that is dreaming. And it's the thing that allows us to think about when we were a kid and, a childhood bedroom, or thinking about what we might be like at 80 years old.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's one of those situations where maybe we don't know if another species can do this, because I will tell you from being a dog owner, I have had dogs that whimper in their sleep. And the joke is like, oh, they're chasing rabbits, right?
Yeah.
But they must be thinking of something they're dreaming.
Totally. And the cats do the same thing. Yeah. Whiskers, everything's twitchy and they're like making movements like they are doing something. And it's like, oh, they're chasing a rabbit in their dreams.
Although that sounds terrifying, but this thing about the episodic memory, I mean, is that the term for your memory's ability to isolate events? Is that, and then project them into the future? Or
it's, I mean, I think it's this idea that our memory, we break it down. I'm not going to say ones and zeros, but think about on your computer or up in the
Mm-hmm.
cloud. You've got all these different documents, Word
Mm-hmm.
documents, and every document is an episode, just like the episodes of this podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
you access certain memories at different times based on whatever is going on, and you're ruminating. And I think we're talking about that in an earlier episode as well around consciousness, like this
Mm-hmm.
ability to go back and ponder and replay,
Right.
which I think all of this is prefrontal cortex, but
Yes.
the consciousness, the fight or flight in that piece, like that you
Mm-hmm.
can see where the sort of amygdala and really base genetic origins of man
Mm-hmm.
come from and meeting kind of evolution and how
Mm-hmm.
we might have evolved because we're now able to think about, record in our brains, go back and think about the past
Right.
and something that might have scared us, fight or
Mm-hmm.
flight or flee or fawn, and then think about the future,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it's where worry comes from and
Yeah. Well, I was going
anxiety.
to say the dark side of that is like a fixation on it and a compulsion to just live in it, right? Especially if it's negative.
Okay, so here's this will be an interesting thought experiment for
Yeah.
people and for yourself. And I'm just thinking about it now. Would you say how much time do you spend as you're thinking of the future? Are you in a state of worry versus a state of aspiration or hope or positive kind of view?
I think I'm pretty equally weighted.
Hmm.
Um, I actually took, as you know, I'm getting certified to administer the Enneagram, which is a test that focuses you on your instincts and your motivations. And one of the many vectors in this integrative Enneagram is whether you fake good or fake bad. And it's pessimism, optimism, right? And I
Okay.
tend to fake good, right? So um, you can think of it as just like which way you're geared towards. And so I would say, in answer to your question, I gear towards positive,
Hmm.
but it's depends on what I'm thinking about. And it depends
Hmm.
on the stimuli, the cause of what I'm thinking about. As an example, every parent can relate to this. Your kid does one bad, quote unquote, bad thing, right? They disobey a rule, they talk back, they're mean to someone. And instantly, many parents and psychologists, my therapist worked with me on this. They call it future tripping, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You parlay that one experience into they're going to be psychopath, convicted of murder, and they're going to be doing all because I let them do this one thing, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I would say when it comes to parenting, I'm very much geared towards worry. When it
Okay.
comes to everything else, mostly because I'm responsible for another human being, right? But
Yes.
when it comes to everything else, I'm pretty dreamy, pretty positive. Like I
Yeah.
don't see myself, homeless in the future, without anyone to love me or anything like that. So I would say, short answer, it depends.
And are some of the enneagrams more likely to be positive than negative, or is it really
No,
about the
that has nothing to do
individual?
with type. Yeah, that has to do more with just your personality profile within this integrative Enneagram
Mm,
assessment. And
okay.
so it's very granular.
Yeah.
So it could
Yes.
be any, but there are certain types that lean into nostalgia more than others. And
Oh,
I need to look into those more. But um,
interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Episodic memories of their past,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah. I'm very nostalgic, actually. I remember a lot. I have memories from when I was 3 or 4.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I can go back that far, but I've noticed as I've gotten older, the number of those memories are less. But
Hmm.
there are a few key, like kind of core memories from, I think my parents clocked it at like 3.5 years old, like a Christmas or
Yeah.
something.
Something seminal. Yeah.
Yeah, that I really remember.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I've always been curious, is it because our brain just can't like reach its capacity as like get rid of it? Or it just goes
Yeah.
way back into some, deep storage unit that
Yeah.
you could probably go find, and maybe that's where you need the aid of someone.
Yeah.
But
Well, and they also say that your memories are not to be trusted either because they morph and shape over time in you repeating the stories and how you
It,
remember things and how, so you actually memory is not very
reliable.
reliable.
It is not it is not a reliable narrator.
No, it's not.
And I've, as a researcher, I experienced that a lot doing qualitative research. And coming out of the field, you talk to a dozen, 2 dozen people, and oh my God, it was so amazing. I remember when this person said that.
Yeah.
And then you have to go, and the client debrief, oh yeah, this, boom, huge, big stuff, change the business, go in that direction. And then you go
Yeah.
back to find the quote in the transcript, and you're like, wait, where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. One of us said that, not the respondent.
A
Like
hundred
we
percent.
summarized it for them or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
and
it
that,
is that unreliable narrator. And our bias gets, this is totally
mm,
off topic to dreaming, but
hmm
our bias really gets in the way. I recently had Claude analyze transcripts of somebody from the Navigating to New Normal study. So this is somebody I've been talking to for 6 years. And a new moderator is going to take over those conversations. And I wanted to present sort of the analysis of this individual's journey and tips for the next moderator. And I fed all of it into Claude. And as I see that respondent, she tends to be far right, Trump supporter, and homeschooling and anti-vax and like a lot of different things.
hmm
When I had Claude summarize the transcripts and paint the journey, did not bring up political affiliation or any of those pieces and really more represented her decision making, which
hmm
is much more libertarian in values.
hmm
And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, I've really painted this broad brushstroke over this
hmm
individual. I applied bias that I
Yes.
had and then stereotypes. Oh, well, she's a homeschooler, therefore this. And I know
Yeah.
her quite well because we've been
Yeah.
talking for 6 years now, but AI did not capture any
Mm.
of those labels that I was actually putting on her.
Well, and that's like the interesting discussion of human versus AI is that in its best version, AI should be doing that for us.
Yeah.
It would be great to have a thought partner that could do that for us because it is such a human trait to have bias, inject your own perspective, have your stereotypes based on your own values and needs and your own experiences, right? So while all of those add to the texture and the flavor of us being human beings walking through the world, it can also be detrimental to our connections with other people. And wouldn't it be great if we could rely on AI to be that unbiased, which, we talked about in the past, we can't because it's
And
being populated by human beings.
exactly. And it would have been fascinating to have had AI come back to me and
hmm
said, so how did you view this person? Because, like, and really engage to help
Yeah.
me understand.
Interrogate you in a way.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
where were those thoughts coming from? Because I'm actually not seeing that. Which maybe as we get into a more intelligent AI, it would do
hmm
that.
Well, it's interesting because the work of Harry Pickens, who's in a community that I'm part of called Samudra, he's done work around the prompts you can use to help your AI help you tap into your humanity. So getting your interactions with AI to be more thought provoking for you versus giving you
Oh,
answers.
I
So,
love that.
as an example, if you put that summary into AI, it's show me everything I missed or tell me another interpretation of what this could be so that
Hmm.
you're actually critically thinking along with AI supporting you in doing that. And we don't do enough of that because we're like, oh, AI gave me the answer.
Right, right. And then you're just off to the races without
Mm-hmm.
exploring yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring us in back into that thought experiment and the Enneagram. So
Mm-hmm.
I like you, I tend to be more on the positive,
Mm-hmm.
and which is probably why we're Wonder Twins of empathy. Um, but there's, and we should link to the to your friend Harry, was his
Harry
name?
Pickens. Oh, for
Harry
sure. Yeah.
Pickens. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's share that in the show notes for people. I'm an Enneagram 7, which
Okay.
is the adventurer, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And something my therapist has always
You're the
said,
enthusiastic visionary.
the enthusiastic visionary, the
You're the
dreamer.
big thinker. Yes.
Yes,
Speaking of
exactly.
dreaming for this episode, yes.
Right. And my psychologist, my therapist, Greg, he is trained in the Enneagram and well versed in it. And so we've brought that into therapy. And
Hmm.
I'm for anybody that really wants to know, I'm a 7 with an 8 wing. Um, but as we've talked about being a 7, it's like I tend not to dwell on the negative for too long. It's an
Hmm.
uncomfortable place for
Hmm.
sevens to be.
Hmm.
So we'll process our way through it, apparently,
Right, right.
to get back to the good because we're the visionary, the adventurer. We want the positive kind of experiences, I think.
Yeah. And I think, and to circle us back to this episode, I think that that is such a uniquely human thing. I mean, we look at things in such nuanced ways. We look at the future and we reflect on the past in such nuanced ways. And, that role of memory, but also that role of hope, of
Hmm.
that our future is changeable. And we talked about this time is malleable, right? When we love what we're doing, what do we say? Oh my God, time flies,
Yeah,
right? When we hate what we're doing, we're like, oh my God, that was interminable. Like that lasted forever, right?
right.
I don't know that other species do that. I think that is a very uniquely human thing of like our ability to look at time in a different way and look at the future in a way that it's not, unless you are a fatalist, right, where everything is predestined for
Right.
you.
True.
We have this very human trait of we can impact our future. We could even I would submit that we even have a trait of trying to control our past, to your point earlier about the narratives we give our past.
Yeah. Ooh, good,
That if
good
we
point.
don't like it, we're going to, like I treated that, partner horribly. No,
Revisionist.
actually, what happened was they did all these wrongs to me, right? So we have that ability. And I just want to throw in here because this was an answer that we had in our survey. My 12-year-old, when I asked him just off the cuff, what do you think it means to be human? At first, he just wanted me to shut up about it. And then he was like, I don't know, free will.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more. And then he didn't really tell me more. He's just like, we can just decide what to do. Like nobody's controlling us.
Well, and it's, thinking about time and our relationship to time, I was kind of like, what are tasks that other species deal with where they might be like, this is taking forever.
Collecting the nuts for winter. I don't know.
I know, or the lion out on the savannah makes the kill. I was like, wow, this is going so fast. I'm
Finally.
having such a great time. But the interminable wait.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I wonder if there's even any sort of awareness of that. Like, I don't know, dog
That's
owner,
where
can they be bored?
that's what I
Do
was
they
just going to
ever
say. That's where what is I never say the word right. Anthropomorphize.
anthropomorphize
Thank
animals?
you.
Yeah,
Animals through Disney films, right? Or other animated films. And like that's even from I'm thinking of The Lion King, where Simba was like, couldn't wait to grow up, couldn't wait to be an adult. He was impatient.
right,
And it was
right.
like, it's taking forever for me to get to be the king, right? For me to be in charge, for me to get to do what I want. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not an animal behaviorist, but I don't believe that they think
That
that
would
way.
no, I think that's allowing like Maslow's hierarchy to get applied to, which is, hierarchy of needs. And the base ones are survival and shelter and food and security, which
Hmm.
I think is probably universal
Yes.
to all animals or all
Hmm.
species, all life. And then it gets all the way up to self actualization, self awareness,
Yes.
realization.
Hmm.
That's a very human kind of construct and problem.
Right. Where I
Then,
want to become a better version of myself.
right. I don't,
Yeah.
I might, and maybe my cats are, one of our cat sitters once said that our cats are living their best life. So maybe they have self
Maybe they're already,
actualized.
that's what I was going to say. Many cat lovers would tell you cats are already self actualized.
Yes, they are living their best life.
We're perfect. We have
Yes.
no more to learn.
Feed me. um,
Oh, man.
so anyhow, um, it is fascinating because we do anthropomorphize, and we've referenced this now, I
Mm-hmm.
think in almost every single episode, and
Mm-hmm.
we have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
We're projecting onto animals. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things that I found when I was researching for this episode that was really interesting was this um, idea about decisions that we make and the origin of action and how
Mm.
so I'll probably mispronounce his name. I apologize. Benjamin Libet, Libet, had an experiment in 1983 where he found that unconscious brain activity leading up to unconscious decisions, let's say, like I just was doing this like finger rotation, if anybody's watching. For listeners, I'm kind of moving my two index fingers around each other. Um, that began approximately half a second before I consciously felt like I just had made that decision to move. So the brain's deciding before I actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the brain, it sounds like from what I'm interpreting this, brain is thinking about the things to do.
Mm-hmm.
The conscious mind might actually block or veto it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this idea that free will,
Mm-hmm.
um, like you're not initiating a voluntary act. Like you can always control your actions. So you may not, the way I had this summarized for me, thank you, my friend Claude. We may not launch a decision, but we can cancel it. So freedom, true freedom, which is important to people, isn't actually the origin of action, but the governance is kind of the thought that was put forward with that.
I find that fascinating. And I'm going to challenge a little bit because I think that's true of every species.
Yeah.
I think, the species that goes out to hunt and goes to a particular place, hears a sound or
And is
sees a
making
movement and
a
thinks about, is this
decision.
safe? And they may say yes or no, and they may
Yeah.
proceed or they may not. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's true for every species, is that thought precedes action,
I could
unless
see
it's an
that.
instinct, unless it's a reflex, for example, like, the doctor hitting your knee. You don't think about that. It just
I know, but I
physically
think
happens.
I mean, I know the times I've been out hunting on the savannah with my lion friends. There's there there is, I mean, when you just even watch a nature video or something on
Uh-huh.
TikTok or whatever, there is like, alertness, they're listening, they're
Uh-huh.
thinking, or maybe seeing something, they're making a decision.
Right.
Anthropomorphizing, you can see their brain, the wheels turning in their
Turning.
brain,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but they are making a decision on how to act and what
Right.
to actually do. So I think that may be some base kind of muscle
Yeah.
control behavior or something.
It could be and it couldn't, because if it was that instinctual, then you wouldn't have evolution. You wouldn't have some that make the wrong decision and then some that make the right decision and decide not to. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
got to be a level of savviness there. I mean, and we've both been pet owners. Like, to be completely candid, some of my pets have been smarter than others. Like, and you just kind of know, right? Like it's just, I think there
Yeah.
is an element of, there's got to be some calculation or weighing of options that goes on in the brains of other species before they act. And also, I think this is where it kind of ties back to what we're talking about. Do they envision what's there, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have the ability to hope and dream, and also, like you said, think negatively into the future. There's an example. I was walking my dog in the dark the other night, and I've been watching way too many Buffy the Vampire Slayer reruns. I'm
Ooh.
following along with my friend Elisa Camahort Page, who's doing a whole rewatch of it and analysis because she's a huge Buffy fan.
How
And
far into
I
it
had
are
never
you?
seen it before. So I am
Wait,
very.
wait, 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 back
I
up.
know, no, I've never seen Buffy the. I never watched that show. It wasn't in.
Did you start with the original movie?
No, I just dove
You
right into
jumped
the
into the
TV show. Yeah,
series.
I jumped into the
Okay.
series.
Okay.
But point being, I've been watching a lot of that lately, and I'm also scared of the dark. So there's that. So I'm walking my dog, and I hear this, what it sounds like a growling through one of the houses, and it was like either a growling or it was a motorcycle revving in the distance. I couldn't tell.
Mm.
But my mind given the inputs, was imagining the worst. I was like, this is like the
That
horror
it's a
movie
demon
where
from the Hellmouth that's
a
just come up
100%.
and is like
It
behind the sofa.
it was a demon. And then I keep walking and then I hear it again at the same equidistance as I'm now further down the street. So I'm like, okay. And so my projection of interpreting that stimulus,
Hmm.
right, was made of imagination. It was made of me envisioning someone coming to run out to get me or some creature or some demon, right? I'm circling this back to what you said because I wonder in the savannah, when
Mm,
they hear the noise or to do the thing, what do they have the ability, like humans do, of imagining what's behind the black box? What,
right.
because they don't see it, they might be hearing it or seeing a glimpse of it. Do they imagine the worst case scenario and then run? Or is, like you said, is it a little bit more like, no, that's a danger sign. I don't have to think about what it is. I'm just going to run.
Yeah.
We as
And
humans create a whole story when
right.
and our imaginations go into overdrive.
And we don't have the same sense of smell as
True.
animals, so they might be able to. Can you smell danger?
I think they can.
I think they can. Yeah.
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 But
They
I'm just
see it.
wondering if the mental process is the same as for humans, where we we're constructing a like scenarios and we're envisioning them in our mind's eye,
Right. That's interesting. I mean, it is
which
kind
is
of
related to dreaming. You know what I mean? Like creating pictures in your mind. But
right.
yeah.
But where we have like a buffet in front of us at the supermarket, what are we going to have for dinner? There's so
Yeah.
many choices.
Yeah.
My friends on the savannah are like, look, gazelle, dinner, let's go.
They're
I
not
can,
imagining how it's going to look on a plate with a side of parsley and mashed potatoes.
what type of sauce goes well with this today? The
Well,
blood
but
sauce.
you
That's
know,
it.
I'm glad you said that because that kind of drives us into this idea of imagination and invention and like the ability to create something that doesn't exist. That is like the
Mhm.
whole engine behind human ingenuity
Yes.
is
And
that,
don't we need to be able to have that? I think that gets into the episodic memory, also
uh-huh,
enabled that, like the envision the past, the present, and the future state
uh-huh.
to help unlock that.
But if you've never seen it before, like Steve Jobs and the iPod,
Yes.
you could argue it was kind of like a mini Walkman, right? Like you could argue there was something that happened before that, but like something completely different that doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Humans have the ability to number one, imagine that, fine tune it in their minds, and then turn it into action to
Yeah.
create it, right? And I would add another layer of our humanness, the ability to sell that vision to other humans,
To persuade.
to persuade and get other people to help them build it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on the Steve Jobs piece, and
Mm-hmm.
this may be, it shouldn't be controversial, it's just true.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting with Steve Jobs, and Scott Galloway was just talking about this the other day, which is what planted it into my episodic memory that I accessed just now. But he was talking, I think it was on the Pivot podcast,
Mm-hmm.
that when you looked at Apple, what Apple's done really well, or Steve Jobs would do well, there were already music players that were out there that were
Mm-hmm.
digital. There were
Yeah.
already smartphones.
Yeah.
They did it better. So they were the second player to market,
Mm.
but, and often within innovation, we talk about first mover advantage,
Mm-hmm.
but the first mover is the one that's getting all the dings, is getting it wrong, or like has to,
Yeah. They've made
hard
the mistake. They're
knocks.
making the
They're
mistakes.
making the
Yeah.
mistakes where the second person to market is able to go, okay, how do I make this better
Right.
and make something that people really want? And that's, and Apple is so great with design and user interface and experience that they're
Mm-hmm.
able to take it to that next kind of level. And
Yeah.
then it's because that's then the one that breaks through or
Uh-huh.
it gets more of the adoption curve.
Uh-huh.
um, they get all the accolades.
Well, and is that so? Two things come to mind on that. Number one is the accusations against Edison for stealing other people's ideas. But also, let's take that analogy and kind of frame it in the conversation. Who was the very first human to think of a portable device player? right? And that's where I get into like what is unique to us as humans that we have versus AI right now anyway, right? That was like I envision this thing that doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah. Well,
And here's what it could do, or here's how it could solve that problem.
are we talking about like boom boxes, like as the first portable music
I mean,
device?
way
Or I
back,
mean, there were
like,
like little
yeah.
portable record players,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they were powered, like
Yeah.
batteries, I suppose,
Yeah.
but there were portable record players
Well, I
way
had when I
back
was
in
a
the
when
day.
I was a little kid, I had like a little record player in a case. It
Yeah,
had a
that's what it
cord, you plugged it in, but I could take it. I couldn't listen to
exactly.
it until I got to a place to plug it in. That was the missing part,
But it was still portable.
but it
But
was
then
still
somebody was
portable.
able to innovate and go, oh, we just need a battery case
What
in
if we
here.
could listen to
Or
it while we were moving it? Yeah.
exactly. Oh, what if there were, instead of these records that have to stay perfectly flat, what if there were cassette tapes?
Right.
What if
Right.
there were, yeah,
So that kind of brings us around again, which is like, is that uniquely human that we look at things and we're like, what if? What if that could be better? How could we improve that? How could that solve a different problem?
considering my cats have been unsuccessful bringing anything to market that they've invented, I would have to say, yes, it is uniquely human. But I think that problem, even as I think about like problem solving,
Yeah.
and how much we're able to problem solve. And Jurassic Park was on TV recently, as it often
Mm-hmm.
is. And so, sure, I'll watch it. And, you know, like the velociraptors that figure out how to work a door handle, which isn't, I don't know. My cats, if they were just a little
Mm-hmm.
taller, they could figure it out, like the
Yeah.
ones with the lever handle.
Yeah. Well, mice do
Um,
that in lab experiments of getting to the cheese, right? They've
yeah, they
had where
know
they
how to,
figure out there's a certain trigger to open the door and they get the cheese. Like they figure out a way to solve the problem.
right. But they haven't figured out how to make their own cheese.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right? So
Yeah.
like we look at it even beyond and go like, okay, that's cool. What if we could make our own cheese? That's the
Exactly.
higher level humanity. And I wonder, like, I guess the big question is, will AI ever be able to do that? There, in some circles, it is. It's
Well,
creating products.
it is, and it's solving problems.
Hmm.
I mean, I know of companies that are using it to, and they're stacking a lot of different tools, but they're using it for innovation
Yep.
to help identify products and
Hmm.
services that are maybe unmet needs. I
Hmm.
know there, you know, it's definitely solving some complex math problems that are
That
blowing
we couldn't
people's
do on our
brains
own.
that
That's
we
where
could
it's a great partner. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So in some ways it is doing that. And I think the thought is that generative AI is going to be able to do that even more once we
Yes.
get to the general intelligence, I should say. Generative AI is what we already have.
Hmm.
General intelligence, then watch out.
Yeah. Well, you and I, when we were prepping for all these episodes, there was this line that came up in our shared notes, which was the future. Let's go back to the future now again, sticking with that. The future oriented mind may be humanity's most distinctive gift and its most fragile one because it requires memory, prefrontal capacity, a sense of self, emotional investment in outcomes, and enough cognitive bandwidth to lift above the present moment. Is that our most distinctive gift, our future orientation? Or for folks like you and me, would we say it's connection and empathy? Dun, dun,
Well,
dun.
don don don.
Yeah.
Because I was actually like, what about our sense of style and our ability to present ourselves, which that ties into the ego, I
That's
think.
like artistry almost.
Yeah,
That's artistic creativity. Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
Um, and that might be one. There are probably a few. I mean, I would hope as our we've evolved,
We have more
it's
than
not
one fragile
just
gift. Yeah. More than one distinctive gift. Yeah.
it can also be fragile too.
Right. Right.
But I think that at the base of it, something to that idea of the future-oriented mind is what's enabling us to imagine those things. Now, so let's go back to the innovation
Hmm.
and think about, okay, So this future-oriented mind is what's enabling us to come up with solutions to problems.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy and connection is what is letting us come up with solutions to problems that other people have because we're empathizing with their needs and understanding what they may be feeling or going through.
Robert, that was a mic drop moment.
I was going to say, can I just drop like,
yes, you're done. Peace out.
I'm done. And see.
That is so profound.
And again, it's the multiple things that our brains are able to do. And empathy shows up in another part of our brain, then it's not in the prefrontal cortex.
Well, and I'm thinking of species that if, obviously not like mold spores or anything like that, but like when we're talking about
I don't know. Those
mammals, reptiles, amphibians.
Those algae in Washington, D.C. are pretty smart.
They're pretty smart.
They're clever.
But I'm thinking about if they were to have that capability of the future-oriented, I'm thinking about which would be the ones that would bring the empathy component, the relational, like, I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this for others. And the thing that instantly sprung to mind when you were saying that story was the penguins. The fact that, like, when they have the babies, the eggs, whatever, the dads nest on the eggs while the moms go look for food, right? In penguin culture.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I remember that right from National Geographic. Yeah. Or Happy Feet. I can't remember. So they're doing things where they're planning for the future by working together. I wouldn't say it's empathy driving it. It's a little bit biological instinct. It's survival. But if you think about, well, which would be the other species that could maybe catch up with us? I think of like dolphins. I think of other pack animals that do things together, right? Like dogs, wolves. And I think of penguins. I think of like, oh, maybe if someone just injected that one unique trait of future thinking or imagination in those species, would they be closer to human?
My brain, when you first mentioned that, whales, dolphins, and octopus, all came
octopuses.
to mind. Octopuses.
I don't know. An octopus.
and one octopus that will save the planet.
Larry.
We'll call him Larry.
But like that's kind of an interesting thing, right? Like what if there was, I mean, this is a great sci-fi movie script. What if somebody invented something like broke down the genome for imagination and future orientation and injected it into other species?
What if other species were just on that evolutionary path? And if we were to jump 1,000,000 years into the future,
there are overlords.
Like, hello, right? There are overlords.
Totally.
They are smarter because AI wiped us out.
Right.
And they rose up. So rise of the whales or the dolphins. Yeah.
They're like, oh, our master plan worked. They're all gone now.
They thought I was just installing warheads didn't dolphins get used during World War
I think so.
Or something, to mining or something like that in warfare.
Them and pigeons, right? Like
yeah.
So let's circle back around to this idea of free will. Because I'm not connecting the dots for anyone else listening, but for me, I connect free will with the ability to imagine the future. Because if you don't have free will, why would your species be able to imagine the future? Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So to me, they're linked. That's the connection that I see between that.
Well, and I was talking about Libet's work, which I should say is apparently pretty hotly contested in scientific circles.
Okay.
If there happens to be a listener that knows more, I would love to hear about that.
Why is it hotly contested?
Because of kind of what we were talking about of like, is this instinct versus a characteristic of being human? Is this, is this really kind of free will, the way all of this is working? And like when you think about formula.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I still am on the side of that. Your brain is still you deciding the action. So there still is an element of free will. It's not, your brain has not taken control of your body to like go train for that marathon. Like your brain is making, or even the example of your decision to flick a wrist or pull your sleeve up or something. You still are thinking that.
Yes.
And you could, in many circumstances, human beings could censor that if they needed to. It's still it's not someone, I guess my point is it's not someone else controlling your brain to make
Right.
that decision before you act,
Right. Yeah.
unless it is a reflex. Then you're not thinking about it at all. It's just happening.
Right.
Your knee, right? The little hammer on
The
your knee.
the hammer on the
Yeah.
knee, but that is reflex
That's
versus
reflex.
because that's your nerves getting stimulated
Right.
and
And your
responding.
brain is making the decision to react to it without you getting involved, which is a different thing than I think when you make a decision to go to a certain college or to like
Yes,
decide
that.
I'm going to work on this today versus that, or I'm going to eat this for lunch versus that.
So I think what you're saying is there's a lot more thought that we put into seemingly reflexive actions,
Mm,
except for things that involve our reflexes, like the hammer on the knee.
I think I am saying that.
I would agree with
So
that.
maybe that's why his work was controversial
I
because
think
he's saying the brain decides before you do, kinda, but it
kind of,
depends. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But back to the idea of free will. So we
Yeah.
were watching the movie Tetris last night, which
Hmm.
is on Apple TV, and it's about the history of, have you seen the movie?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it is set in the 80s, and it is about the development and global distribution and conquest of the game Tetris, which,
Hmm.
500 million copies have been sold. So I'm guessing everybody listening to this podcast is familiar with it. But it was actually developed by a computer programmer in the Soviet Union. And during the era of the Soviet Union, communism and Gorbachev was in power, and some Westerners were trying to get the rights. And so it's this whole corporate espionage type
Uh-huh.
thriller with some dark humor in it. It was really good. Really liked it. But I was thinking about like, okay, well, if you were in a an authoritarian country, a dictatorship, some like where you just really are beaten down
Hmm.
and you don't, I mean, you have some free will,
Hmm.
but you don't have true free will, like of hopes and dreams necessarily. It's just interesting that man can subjugate that away from other men,
Well,
other humans,
that
can't
is
we?
interesting. I would say they can and they can't
Hmm.
because we wouldn't have people like Anne Frank who
Mm.
continued to be optimistic about humanity and the choices they made in terms of, that it's trite, but the only thing you can control is your attitude, right?
Deep down, I
Um,
believe all humans can be good. Nelson
right.
Mandela just popped to mind. Somebody
Yeah,
that faced just tragic, horrible circumstances and remained optimistic about humanity.
absolutely. And the other thing that comes to mind is I was watching this episode of there's a black historian, or he's not a historian, I think he's a commentator. He does this show where he reveals people's families' trees to them.
Oh,
Like
yeah, Henry Louis Gates
Henry Louis Gates.
Jr.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
His name was escaping me. And one of the episodes he did, I can't remember who it was with, but there were slaves in their background, very,
Hmm.
very few generations back, not far enough back, but a few generations back. And I think it was the celebrity. And again, I can't remember what celebrity, but when I find out after we record, I will put the link in the show notes. Um, Made the statement that what was so moving to them about finding out they were related to slaves is that these people lived in the worst, horrible conditions, right? Of being owned by another human being.
Hmm.
And they had no choice. They were either going to get killed or they were going to work for this person. And they said, the fact that I'm here shows that even in the worst dire situations, people still have hope because you wouldn't have children if you thought this was all there was.
I love that.
And I was like, I'm getting goosebumps like remembering it too, because I was like, that is so true. That is part of the hopefulness of humanity is many people, not everybody, but many people choose to have children. And
Yeah.
that in and of itself is an act of hope. That's in and of itself an act of future thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just thought, wow, that's so true that the reason there's so many descendants of slaves is because all of those people made a decision in their horrible circumstance to have hope for the future.
Yeah.
Whereas evolutionarily, you would think a species, knowing that that things were
It was so
awful
oppressive,
in the
would
present might not procreate.
choose to
Yeah, might
procreate.
not choose. I don't know.
So that existential question is partly at the heart of that AI doc that I think I've mentioned, the AI doc, or how I learned to become an apocalyptimist.
Mm-hmm.
The filmmaker, he and his wife were pregnant with, I think, their first child, and
Mm-hmm.
it was this existential, like, is this a good time to bring a kid into the world with AI
Right.
and what's going on and where it's all headed
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And that led to the sort of questioning and the setup
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. And people should watch it. It's really worthwhile. I think it's on YouTube even now.
Okay.
So we'll put a link.
We will.
But that's another kind of
Mm-hmm.
example. And I think something people are questioning, living in quite liberal San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
in the second Trump administration. I think there
Mm-hmm.
are just like, oh God, what world are we bringing
Yeah.
kids into with, climate
Mm-hmm.
change, political polarization,
Yeah.
all the stuff.
There's actually a whole movement within, I believe it's not Gen Z. It might be Gen Z, younger millennials, about their active choice not to have children specifically because of the environmental crisis.
Hmm.
I can't remember what the mindset is called, but they're like, absolutely not. The world's going to be burning in a generation or two. Why would I bring children into this?
Which is like it is a form of, this is not going to be right, but thinking off the top of my head, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of like generational suicide in a way,
Yeah, yeah.
because you're choosing not to continue, you're not choosing not to procreate, therefore
Mm-hmm.
you will not have a subsequent generation who will not have a subsequent generation because they don't exist, et cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with it. And I think there's also even, I'm childless by choice. I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
gay relationship, but we chose not to try to have children, which had
Right.
nothing to do with it had nothing to do with the state of the world at the time
Right.
that we were even thinking about it. It was more about what was right for us,
Exactly.
which I think a lot of couples, straight, gay, queer, whatever, go through.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting, just the act of procreating, of having
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
um, is that future-oriented state.
Yeah. And also what's motivating it? Are you being motivated by a sense of hope for the future, or are you being motivated by a narcissistic need to have your
Have your
DNA living
genes.
on? Yeah.
There's that too. There's
Oh
that
my
too.
gosh, we need maybe we need to do a whole thing on narcissism, but so
We
how do
could,
we want to wrap this, Rob? I mean, these are all good questions all.
something that I think was going back to our positivity in that early conversation.
Mhm.
One of the things that struck me that came up, which I'm now scrolling through my notes to try to find, was this idea of hope versus optimism.
Optimism is passive. Things will work
Yes.
out.
And
Hope is
hope is,
active.
I can find a way through it.
Yes.
And so there's a book we can share a link to. It's from 22 years ago now. Rebecca Solnit, Hope in the Dark. It's the
Hmm.
name of the book. And she argues hope is not about certainty, it's about possibility.
Yes.
Future is genuinely unknown and open, and that means it can be shaped. It's infinite possibilities.
Hmm.
And hope is resistance to some sort of premature certainty, which I think goes exactly back to what you were just talking about.
Hmm.
So that hope is more courageous rather than naive,
Yes.
which I think is true. And, people that talk about, so that when I first read that, I was like, oh, it's kind of like, people dinging somebody who might be considered a Pollyanna
Or toxic positivity or
or
something
toxic
like that.
positive.
Yeah.
Yes, and no, they're not.
Yeah.
They're being, if it's truly hope,
Hmm.
then they're actually dreaming and
Hmm.
believing in what could be, and that's really powerful.
This is kind of a silly example, but the way I'm often hit with admiration for people who have hope despite all the odds being against them is in action movies and thrillers where it's like one disaster, or like even look at Star Wars, like they're in a trash compactor. If that were me, I'd be like, we're done. Like just the ability of people. It's in the James Bond films a lot. It's in
Yeah.
spy films. They're always getting out of these situations where I'm like, I would have given up. I would have just like, how did they find a way? How did they grab that one last rope and pull themselves
And
out?
manage
Or
to make that, yeah.
yeah.
Or
And
to that R2 or yeah, R2 is going to come up with a secret combination that's going to stop the trash
completely.
compactor.
That's where I see humans embracing hope more than any other way. It's like and I'm constantly faced with it, right? Or if you watch a medical drama and you watch the surgeons trying all these different things to save someone's life, it's not that I'm definitely not a pessimist. Like I would try everything I could try, but their ability to be resourceful because of hope,
Yeah.
because of like, no, there's got to be a way. Like to your point, it's very active. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. We got to figure this out.
And in context of that, big, evil, authoritarian, dictatorial empire crushing the souls of everybody else, what is Star Wars, the original Star Wars, Episode
Mm-hmm.
4? The revised title in the series of trilogies is A New Hope.
Mm. So good. So good. Rob, this has been awesome again to be in conversation with you. We don't have all the answers, everyone. We told you this is about posing the questions and having the discussion. So we would love to hear what you think about humans' abilities to dream, to time travel, to hope. Is that the piece for you that makes us so uniquely human? We'd love to hear from you. I'm at Instagram at RedSliceMaria.
I'm at Instagram, empathy_activist.
Thank you once again, Rob. This has been fun.
So fun. What's up next?
What's up next is, let's see.
Stay
What is up
tuned
next?
to
Stay
episode
tuned
5.
we're going to be talking about morality, conscience, right and wrong. And if that's
Storytelling.
uniquely human, ethics, basically, right? So
Yeah.
all the things. Developing a moral compass. And if AI can even develop a moral compass, we don't know.
Mm,
We'll see. But we'll be bringing
good
in all our
questions to
juicy
ponder.
empathy work to that one, I'm sure. So
For sure. Lots of good stories there.
thanks, Rob. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Empathy Edge podcast. If you like what you heard, you know what to do. Please rate, review, and share with a friend or a colleague. And until next time, please remember that cash flow, creativity, and compassion are not mutually exclusive. Stay well and be kind.